How you guys doing? It's PEM Enterprises here with another mower demo. Very similar fashion to my earlier John Deere vs. Toro video. This time I got a Bobcat ProCat 61-inch Duradeck FX unit. I want to try a Bobcat because I actually do own a 36-inch walk behind belt drive, and I've liked it a lot. And I've always been curious how the riders perform, so decided to get myself a demo. And there's not really much online, so it was the best way for me to figure out if the thing's actually good, bad, you know, let's deal with it. So I'm gonna go over a quick overview, just like the John Deere video, in comparison to my own Toro. You know, what I like, what I don't like, overall thoughts of the machine. So as you can see, they're both the same size deck, very comparable. This is a ProCat, which is the second highest level in the Bobcat lineup. The only one above it is the Predator Pro. And the only main difference there is it has a little more fuel capacity, a little bigger engines. This has, I think, running a 25 horse engine. And the Predator Pro is more comparable to this Toro unit, which is with the 16cc pump. This has the 12cc, and then the 29 to 31 horsepower versus the 25 and a half horsepower on the this model. But the main thing between these two is this is very, very similar to a Skag. My old Tiger Cat 2 is very, very similar. It performs very similarly to the Skag. The difference is the cut quality is, I'd say, this pretty much the same. If you cut two passes, one with this, one with the Skag, you'd have a very, very difficult time telling the difference. I could barely probably tell the difference, if not be able to. The difference is in the discharge. And it's a different approach to where the Skag is a throw and go. And they're complete opposite ends of the spectrum. The Skag will cut it, throw it, but it does so very evenly. Now you have advantage and disadvantage to that. The advantage is you can go through thicker grass and have a cleaner looking discharge, but the problem is that it's going to have a very thick covering over the grass, and you could potentially have issues there if it's too thick. Whereas this, it thrives in really, really thick conditions to lesser thick conditions, because in the lighter conditions you mulch everything, it mulches everything up to the point where, like, it literally almost is like dust, so you can't see it in the grass, and so when you're in the light conditions you don't see any of the clippings. Unlike with a Skag, you would see some clippings. In the extra thick conditions with a double cut, it literally pulverizes all of it and you don't see any clippings at all, whereas the Skag, you're not really cutting it again, you're kind of just spreading it around. So walking around here, here's your instrument panel. Pretty simple. I mean, you got their hour meter with maintenance reminders with that little gray button you can see them pointing to. Your choke, which is Bobcat only has carbureted Cowie FX series engines. Throttle, PTO, and key switch. I like this system. It's pretty easy to use, but the only issue I have with it is when you're sitting on the seat, as you can see, the armrest does obstruct, and it's hard. I usually have to lift up the armrest to get at it. You come around the back here, this does have an oil cooler. I like the oil cooler, I don't like the spot. I mean, I've never heard of it happening, but potentially you could have an issue where the engine is pulling in hot air through the oil cooler. I mean, the idea of this is the engine pulls air through the oil cooler, which cools the oil, but then you're sucking hot air into the engine, which is causing other issues. So I'm not a huge fan of that. You look at this design here, you see that plate right there? There's another YouTuber, I think his name is Sean, Daily Hustle, who owns a Predator Pro, and he had an issue where these hydraulic lines actually were burnt through by the oil filter, or the oil cooler for the engine. And so now they have a guard here, as you can see, and they tile the hoses up so that won't happen anymore, which is very nice that Bobcat thought of that in the next generation of these machines. This is a Kawasaki 801V, as I said. It's a 25.5 horsepower engine. Has plenty of power, very, very nice. Starts up when I need it to. It so far has been done a very nice job. Coming around, this platform, as you can see, it's very different. The Toro has more of a steep set, and this is more flat. I like putting my feet on the steep part of the Toro, and I don't like putting my feet on the flat part. And this is the opposite. The flat part's comfortable, but this is not as comfortable. Both have very, very, very little vibration. And the reason I like the opposites on each is whatever has less vibration for me is more comfortable. So those two spots on those machines have difference in vibration. Coming around here, got the two tires. These have the 0T, and these have the regular Turf Masters. The difference between the two is the 0T. They are self-cleaning, which is very, very nice, which these are not. And they do have less turf damage, but also they have less traction. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. I personally prefer the more traction, just to be safer on hillsides and to be more cautious when making my turns to avoid that turf damage. Other differences in the hydro system, if you can see under there, I'm not gonna really lift the seat up, but that little black cap right there is this 12cc pump. This is a separate pump wheel motor setup, which I like a lot, very durable. And then this has the unitized system, which I like even more. The fact that it's not a ZT actual transaxle, but it's a separate pump wheel motor bolted together, so you have the performance and no leak points, which is, in my mind, the best. Now, getting to the good stuff. The seat and the deck. The seat, Toro blows it away. The ISO mounts on the Toro combined with just the extra cushioning, you have the ECV fabric. You can hear, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's kind of like a spring in there. Gives you even more support. It's not even close. You definitely notice a difference. This is not by no means a poor seat. It's just not the same as the Toro. You'll notice going from the Toro to the Bobcat, it's not nearly as comfortable. That's just my personal opinion. Now the decks of these two. The Toro, as I have continuously seen, has been the cleanest cutting mower I've ever used. And so far, every mower I've tried has failed to reach the summit that the Toro has reached with its cut quality. The only machine that I have not tried yet that potentially could surpass it, even though I don't think it will, it potentially could, is the Walker. And the issue is, I feel the Walker itself may cut really, really good, but because it's a bagging unit, for me, that kind of eliminates it completely, and it's not really an option. I'm not a big fan of bagging units for a number of reasons. But discharge-wise, the Toro is kind of an in-between between the Skag and the Bobcat. It disperses it more evenly than both. It chops it up more than the Skag and less than the Bobcat, and it throws it out farther than both, which I like the most because it leaves the best looking finish out of either. Stripe wise, the Bobcat's much better striping than the Toro. Toro's more of a lift cut and it kind of leaves a carpet like crisp cut. The Bobcat kind of cuts it and leans it, so you get that nice stripe, more like a John Deere or a Skag. So you get that really nice stripe, but you don't get that really carpet cut. So it's just a personal preference there. But overall, these are pretty comparable. I'm very, very happy with this machine. I think I'd probably take it over the Skag, I think, just because overall it's just a little bit better. Definitely over a John Deere. I'd take a Skag over John Deere as well. I'm not a big fan of those. I don't think they're very durable. Just, I could be wrong, you know, I easily could be wrong, but by looking at it, to me, it looks like a beefed up homeowner unit. I mean, it doesn't have a tubular frame. It has a stamped deck, which, I mean, isn't that big a deal. People argue all the time, oh, stamped stronger than fabricated. That very well may be the case. However, if you bend it, you're buying a new $2,300 7-iron deck, which sucks. So, I mean, to me, that's not worth it at all. But some people may take that risk. But, you know, so this machine is very, very nice. If you're in the market, definitely consider it. If, say, I had a much better Bobcat dealer than a Toro dealer, and the Toro dealer sucked, I would happily own this unit and not have any issues with it at all. But, you know, overall, I highly recommend it, and if you're in the market, I definitely consider getting one of these Bobcats. Give them a try, guys. Thanks for watching.